Someone in the room just yawned. You didn't see it coming. And now, somewhere in the next few seconds, your own jaw is going to stretch wide, your eyes are going to water, and you're going to do the exact same thing. You won't decide to do it. You'll tell yourself you're just tired. That's the easy answer. It's also the wrong one, because the real reason your body copied a stranger reaches back millions of years into a layer of your brain you have almost no control over. And once you understand it, you will never look at a yawn the same way again. So start with a simpler question. What is a yawn really? A yawn is one of the oldest things your body knows how to do. You never learned it. Nobody taught it to you. You were already doing it before you were born. Ultrasound scans have caught human fetuses yawning as early as 11 weeks into pregnancy, floating in the dark, with no air to breathe, and no one to imitate. Think about that for a moment. Before you had a name, before anyone had seen your face, your body already knew this exact movement. So if you were yawning in the womb, it cannot be a habit you picked up from the people around you. It is built in. It is wired into the deep, ancient machinery of the body, the same silent machinery that runs your heartbeat and keeps you breathing while you sleep. But that is only half the story. The yawning you do alone when you are tired, when you are bored, when you first open your eyes in the morning, is the ordinary kind. There is a second kind, and that one has almost nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the people around you. Scientists call it contagious yawning. You see someone else do it, and your body quietly answers. You do not have to be tired. You do not even have to like the person. You can catch a yawn from a stranger on a train, from a face on a screen, from a single still photograph of someone caught mid-yawn. Reading this right now, just these few sentences about yawning, there is a real chance you have already felt the pull at the back of your throat. Did you? For a long time, no one could explain why. The man who took the question seriously was a neuroscientist named Robert Praveen. For years working at the University of Maryland, he did something almost no one had bothered to do. He studied yawning on purpose. He watched people yawn, timed their yawns, and tried to find the trigger. What he discovered was strange. You do not need to see a full yawn to catch one. Just the idea of yawning is often enough. People in his studies began to yawn simply from reading about it, or from being asked to think about it. The behavior could spread through a word on a page. Provine also went after the explanation almost everyone believes. You have probably heard it yourself. The idea that you yawn because your blood is low on oxygen and the big gulp of air is your body topping itself up. It sounds obvious. It is also wrong. Provine had people breathe air with extra oxygen, then air with extra carbon dioxide, and measured what happened. The yawning barely changed. Whatever a yawn is for, it is not a quick breath of fresh air. So if it is not about oxygen, what is it about? One of the most convincing answers comes from a researcher named Andrew Gallup, who proposed that a yawn is something closer to a cooling system. When you yawn, you stretch your jaw wide, pull in a rush of cooler air, and increase blood flow around your skull. The effect, he argued, is to lower the temperature of your brain by a fraction of a degree. A brain that runs slightly cooler runs slightly sharper, which is why you yawn most at the edges of sleep, when your brain is drifting and needs a small jolt back toward alertness. Your yawn is not a sign of laziness. It is a tune-up. That explains the yawn you do alone. It does not explain why it spreads. And the spreading is the part that should stop you in your tracks. Because catching a yawn is not really about breathing, or temperature, or tiredness at all. It seems to be about something far more human. It seems to be about connection. A psychologist named Stephen Platek studied the people who catch yawns most easily and found a pattern. The ones most likely to mirror a yawn also tended to score higher on tests of empathy, of self-awareness, of the ability to imagine what another person is feeling. The yawn, it turns out, may be a tiny involuntary act of stepping into someone else's body. This is why it travels. Now look at where this behavior comes from. Contagious yawning is not something you were born doing. The solo yawn, yes, that you brought into the womb. But catching a yawn from someone else has to develop. A researcher named Molly Helt found that young children do not catch yawns the way adults do. Babies almost never do it. It begins to appear around the age of 4 or 5, right at the moment a child's brain is learning one of the most important skills it will ever have: the skill of understanding that other people have minds, that what is inside someone else's head is real, and separate, and worth tracking. The yawn switches on exactly when empathy switches on. And here is the detail that turns this from interesting into haunting. Helt and others found that children who struggle most with reading other minds tend to catch yawns less. The reflex that should connect them to the people around them is quieter. The thread is thinner. It is as if the yawn is a small visible test of an invisible wire running between human beings, and in some people that wire simply carries less current. Does that wire run between species too? It does. In 2008, a researcher named Ramiro Jolie Mascheroni ran an experiment that sounds almost absurd. He yawned at dogs. Real, deliberate yawns in front of household pets. And the dogs yawned back. Most of them caught it from a human across the species line. Chimpanzees catch yawns from each other. Wolves catch them within their packs. And the closer two wolves are socially, the more reliably the yawn jumps between them. This reflex is older than language, older than your species, woven into the social life of warm-blooded animals long before anything resembling you walked the earth. Which raises the darkest version of the question. If catching a yawn is a measure of connection, what about the people who do not catch them at all? In 2015, researchers at Baylor University, led by Brian Rundle, tested exactly that. They measured how easily people caught yawns, then compared it to personality traits. And they found a quiet, uncomfortable correlation. The individuals who scored higher on traits linked to coldness, manipulation, and a flattened sense of other people's feelings were noticeably less likely to catch a yawn. The contagion that links the rest of us together passed them by. Not because they were tired, because something in the bridge to other minds was missing. Sit with what that means. The yawn you cannot stop yourself from copying is not a flaw. It is not a sign of boredom or bad sleep. It is the surface ripple of one of the deepest things about you. The fact that you are not sealed off inside your own skull. The fact that other people leak into you, and you into them constantly, below the level of choice. Your body is wired to fall into rhythm with the bodies around it, and it has been wired that way since long before you were a person, or even a primate. You feel that wiring everywhere once you start looking. You walk faster in a hurrying crowd. You lower your voice when the room goes quiet. You catch a stranger's nervous energy in a waiting room and feel your own chest tighten for no reason you can name. You smile back before you have decided to. The yawn is just the most obvious version of a thing your body does all day long. It tunes itself to other people. Now think about the world you have built on top of that ancient wiring. You spend hours each day staring at faces on a screen. Faces that yawn, that laugh, that panic, that rage, pouring through glass into a nervous system that cannot fully tell the difference between a person across the table and a person across the planet. The same reflex that once spread a yawn around a small circle of firelight now spreads moods, fears, and outrage across millions of strangers in an afternoon. The wire was built for a tribe of 30 people you would die for. You have plugged it into the entire world. That is why a single video can make a continent angry. That is why panic moves through a crowd faster than any fact. That is why a room full of tired people will yawn, one after another, like a wave nobody started on purpose. You are not as separate as you feel. You never were. So here is the truth hiding inside something as small as a yawn. Across millions of years, evolution did not just build you to survive. It built you to sync, to match the breathing, the mood, the very motion of the people near you, so tightly that you will copy a stranger's open mouth without ever choosing to. It is not weakness. It is the oldest kind of belonging there is. So the next time someone across the room yawns and you feel your own jaw begin to stretch, do not fight it. And do not call it tiredness. It was never about being tired. It was your body, doing the one thing it has always known how to do, reaching for the people around it.